بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In this session, we will continue where we stopped in this slide where we mentioned that ventilation will happen only if sufficient pressures are applied to overcome two opposing factors. We will be talking about the first factor, which is the elastic recoil in more details. The easiest way to understand the elastic recoil of the respiratory system is to imagine the lungs and the chest wall as metal springs. So each metal spring has its own resting length, and once you pull the two ends away from each other, and then let go, we will find that the metal spring will go back to its initial resting length. This process is controlled by the elasticity or the elastic recoil of this metal spring. Having said that, we have to realize that there is a difference between the elasticity of the chest wall and the lungs. And I like to remember it with this example. When you are thinking about the chest wall, think of the metal spring that is put in a box and closed. It's pressed inside and closed, and once you open it, it will jump upward. This is exactly like the elasticity of the chest wall, which tends to go outward. Okay, and when you're thinking about the lung, it's actually like the hard metal spring where it is naturally going inward, and once you pull it out from both sides and let go, it will go again to its initial resting length. So this is the elasticity of the lungs, which tends to pull the lungs inward. So the single pulling force for the chest wall is outward, and the single pulling force for the lungs is inward. But this is, of course, true if we are studying the lungs alone and the chest wall alone. But what is happening in the respiratory system is that both parts are interacting together. So the chest wall, with its tendency to pull to go outward, and the lung recoil with its tendency to go inward, the two forces, okay, are opposite to each other, and they're balancing each other to keep the the lungs in a certain volume and pressure, and the chest wall in a certain volume and pressure. So those two opposing forces are what is controlling the elasticity of the respiratory system and keeping each one of them in its certain place. So to answer the question, what controls the balance between the lungs and the chest wall, or what controls the the respiratory system elastic recoil, we will see that the answer would be the number one, the pressure volume relationships, and number two will be the compliance. And we'll be going over each one of them.